Would you believe me if I told you that Mike Tyson would never have fought Jake Paul if it weren't for the Vikings? No? Well, believe it or not, I'm gonna prove to you in this video that this statement is in fact true. So buckle up and get ready for a ride you never saw coming. This is History Unfolded, can you believe it? Turn back the clock around 1,200 years and ancient Britain was not yet unified, with a few small kingdoms vying for supremacy with each other. This left them weak and unable to defend against the far more organized Vikings and their ruthless raids, which terrorized them for almost 4 centuries. The Vikings were notorious for their lightning-fast longships, terrorizing Britons for a very long time, leaving many to feel hopeless. But whatever tactics the Vikings used, the English eventually copied and perfected. The Vikings mastered guerrilla warfare at sea, using their small and nimble ships to harass larger ones without being attacked themselves. Therefore, the English navy that was created to fight this threat learned the same tactics, eventually adopting Viking shipbuilding techniques and building naval bases, leading to the eventual downfall of the Vikings. But wait, what does this have to do with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson? Bear with me and all will be revealed. Oh, by the way, you wouldn't want to be the downfall of this channel, would you? Pop that like button, smash the subscribe, and heck, even ring the bell so we can keep bringing you epic stuff like this. On to the video. Looking back, the fights with the Vikings caused the English navy to branch off in a specific direction, one where their ships were nimble and agile, maybe not as large as their Spanish and French counterparts, but every bit as fearsome in battle. Here's where things get interesting. You see, the United Kingdom is an island nation, and as such, any attack at the time would have come from the sea. This meant that they needed to have a good navy, and thanks to hundreds of years of practice with the Vikings, their advanced ship design, and eventually their naval artillery, the English became extremely good at what they did. Now we dial the clock forward by a few hundred years to the 18th century, and the UK, after many wars and lots of experience, had the most powerful navy in the world, including the most ships of any nation. This meant that colonizing America was probably the easiest time any colonist could have asked for. You see, the power of the Royal Navy meant that there weren't other nations harassing the settlers or settlements, meaning they could build and grow without fear. It also meant that goods and supplies arrived at these settlements worry-free, and having a solid supply of goods and protection made America incredibly attractive. At the time, the Royal Navy was constantly mapping out new places to settle, while the army fought off the Native Americans and other nations like the French and Spanish. It was at this time that a massive migration took place, where over about 100 years, almost 400,000 English, Irish, Scottish and Welsh settlers came to the New World to establish a new life. Many came to escape religious persecution, and others were just poor and needed a new start. Natural resources, the British government incentives, and overpopulation all led to America becoming a much more attractive place to settle. It was also what made it a place many wanted to call home, without the shackles of the empire holding them back. And so, after a great lot of war, America threw off the mantle of a British colony and established its own nation. Just because America had declared independence didn't mean they were out of the woods yet. The French and Spanish were eager to get their hands on the fertile and bountiful lands of North America, even inciting the Native Americans to fight against the Americans in support. However, thanks to British naval supremacy, these efforts were countered, and the sheer might of the Royal Navy meant that any further complications for America via the European powers were basically stopped. That and the growing American military and economy. That's where the history lesson stops, and now we finally get to what this has to do with the fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Did you know that 3 out of 4 of Jake Paul's grandparents were either Irish, Scottish, English, or a combination of them? And so subsequently were his parents. Also, Jake Paul quite literally has around 8 to 10% Viking blood running through his veins. Though that's besides the point, funnily enough. You see, if America remained a dangerous and divisive place, had the Royal Navy been unable to guarantee safe passage across the Atlantic, and if there wasn't protection for the settlers, people would never have flocked to America, and it would have become a battleground of warring European nations vying for supremacy over the wealthy and abundant land. This brings us to the point. Jake Paul, his parents, and his grandparents, and theirs before them, came to America because it was extremely attractive compared to their old lives in the British Isles. But if the Royal Navy didn't exist, they wouldn't have made this trip. Therefore, if the Navy wasn't strong enough, it wouldn't have led to the British Empire spreading across the world so successfully. And why was the Royal Navy so strong? Because the English needed to fight off the Vikings, who were master shipbuilders and terrorized them for 400 years. Basically, if the Vikings didn't attack the English wouldn't have focused on such a powerful navy to repel them, which would mean they wouldn't have the advantage over other nations. Therefore, when the New World was found, England wouldn't have such an easy time of putting down settlements without fear of being overrun by other nations, and so the ancestors of Jake Paul would never have left, or if they did, they might never have met since it was such a risky proposition, and so the sons and daughters of those ancestors wouldn't exist, and thus Jake Paul would never have been born, and he would never have had the chance to fight with Mike Tyson, and so Mike Tyson wouldn't have lost. Whew, I think I need a break after that wild ride. So as you can see, the reason why Mike Tyson lost the fight was because of the Vikings. No lies to be found here. So can you believe it? Did you think we were talking out of our asses? I promise we weren't. Though if you'd like more awesome videos like this, check out our Versus series with the Spartans and Mongols, where Leonidas meets an enemy he wasn't expecting. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell icon for more history unfolded. Until next time.